Hey everyone, Thursday! Let's talk about chocolate. Today I'm going to talk about a chocolate that is made at origin. So a chocolate maker that makes it in Nicaragua actually, and that is Argencove. Argencove was started in 2017, so they're kind of new, pretty new. It was started by a group of families from Australia, and they, after some research, decided on Granada, Nicaragua as the place where they wanted to start their bean to bar company. And they actually have an agricultural products company that is both cattle and cacao. So I'll talk a little bit about that later. The idea for this, one of them was quoted as saying that it was too much red wine on a campout that led to this adventure, but it was not a spur of the moment decision. They certainly put a lot of research into picking a country and picking a product that they were going to do. So there are two people that I most often see as the face of Argencove. The one that I communicate with, that's Sally McFadden, and her husband, Peter McFadden. So they're both from Australia. Peter is from Darwin, Australia, and he has a bachelor's in agricultural science and a master's in marine studies from the University of Queensland. He has a master's in engineering, civil engineering, and he also has an executive MBA focusing on agricultural business. So he worked in Peru for some time, so he speaks some Spanish. They both speak some Spanish. He worked in Peru in mining and construction. He got his MBA, and they spent almost 2 years researching premium food businesses, going to 20 different countries in the Pacific, in Latin America, and the Caribbean. So they really put their research in to decide where to do this. And he is the CEO of what's called C&B Agricultural Products. So they've kind of got this little system going on where he makes premium, ranches cattle for premium beef. And what happens is he's got the cattle, and so let's start with the cacao. So they grow the cacao, they reuse the pods as feed for the cattle, and then they use the cattle for fertilizer for the trees. So it's kind of the circular system that they've got set up, which is awesome. The other person that I communicate most often with is Sally, and she's from southern Queensland in Australia. She has a degree from the University of Queensland as well, focusing on environmental science, specifically plant biology. So that's really good for running an orchard, although it doesn't mean you know everything about growing a cacao orchard. It's a good background to have though. But she grew up in a farming environment, so also useful. So like I said, after looking for 18 months where they wanted to settle and have their cacao agricultural farm, they decided on the Granada region of Nicaragua to establish a sustainable cacao, craft chocolate, and premium beef business. So they developed their own orchard, they planted the trees, they developed the fermentation process and the drying process. R&D is a lot of what they do, Sally tells me, trying different kinds of cacao. They told me a story about how they put 100-pound bags of cacao on a bus from all over different places in Nicaragua and had them travel to them like 10 hours to get the different kinds of cacao. What they did when they started this chocolate business is they wanted to distinguish themselves as a made at source or made at origin craft chocolate maker, which is important when it comes to the economics for a few reasons. So all their packaging is made in country. They use local labor and local products. I lost my train of thought. Okay. So there is some issues of running a chocolate factory at origin. So cacao grows in places that are hot. So heat is one of the major things, especially when it comes to exporting, that they have to deal with when making chocolate. They have to deal with power shortages sometimes. There's a lot of government paperwork. There's the export process that becomes difficult. There's even though they speak some Spanish, language sometimes comes into it as well, because Nicaraguans will have their own words that are different from what they know. So it's a learning process, and there's some difficulty there. The other thing about making at origin is that they live in a tropical rainforest, and there's animals. There's monkeys, there's toucans, there's iguanas. Sally said the monkeys wake them up and cheer them. Cheer is the word she used. That's a very polite euphemism. I've been around monkeys. And cheer them in the morning on to go work in the cacao fields. They also told me a story about tarantulas. I'll put a picture here that Peter, that they sent me, about when they were first planting the cacao orchard. The hole diggers got ahead of the tree planters, and so there were open holes for about a day or so, and the tarantulas decided this was the perfect place to set up house. And so when they came back and they caught up, the tree planters were encountering all these tarantulas. That would totally freak me out. So yeah, they had to deal with rehousing tarantulas in planting their cacao orchard. They wanted me to make sure to tell you that no tarantulas were harmed when planting their orchard. So I have quite a few bars from them right now because I recently placed an order. Sally emailed me to let me know that they were producing 2 new bars. These two, the dark milk and the coconut milk. I'm going to try this dark milk today because I'm intrigued by it, and I'll tell you why a little bit later. But I've also had their passion fruit bar, which I love passion fruit and chocolate. Here's their banana, cinnamon, and cloves. Award winner. Then I have caramelized nibs, and I have some of their other bars as well. Mombacho, Messiah, which I'm probably all pronouncing wrong, and Apoyo. And I'll tell you where these names come from when we flip the camera around. So let's do that right now and eat some chocolate. Okay, so here's my Argencove stash. We've got the passion fruit, which is an award winner, and the banana, cinnamon cloves, caramelized nibs. There are 2 new bars, the milk bars, dark milk and coconut milk. I'm going to open this one today for sure. And then I'm going to open one of these other ones. So let's start with the name. So Argencove, Argent is of Nordic origin. It means silver, or sometimes it's used as luxury or desired. And then cove means what a cove means. It means a green, protective, nurturing cove. They chose that because Granada is kind of in the shadow near Lake Cocibolca, or Lake Nicaragua, which is a very large freshwater lake in Nicaragua. It's close to their farm. So the other names are also geographical names from Nicaragua. So Nicaragua is sometimes called the land of lake and volcanoes. And so Apoyo is a crater lake that used to be a volcano. And Masaya is a national park with a volcano. And Mombacho is a national reserve with an extinctish volcano. So it hasn't been active for a really long time, but who's to say if it's ever really extinct. So I think I'm going to try these 2 today because I'm interested in trying this new one, and then I just want to try one of their older ones that uses their Nicaraguan cacao. So obviously most of these are Nicaraguan cacao because they're growing their own cacao, but they've also used a little bit of Colombian cacao as well. Sally told me that they are doing some research about possibly having another farm, and Colombia was one of the places they were looking. So I'm going to open this one first. And like I said, all their packaging is done in country. They try to be a very at origin bar. All their bars are hand wrapped, hand packaged. Let's take a look at the back here. Let's look at the ingredients while we're at it. All right. So let's see here. 70%, just a little bit about it. Fertile soils. Volcanic soil is very, very good for growing things when it's had the time to break down. So this is a 2-ingredient bar. Some of their bars are they've put cocoa butter in. So yeah, this one, the Messiah, they've included cocoa butter as well. But this one is just a 2-ingredient bar, which doesn't make it worse or better. It's just 2-ingredient. Little expiration date there. All right, nice. One of the things, this is a really nice looking chocolate bar. Wow, this traveled to me all the way from Nicaragua, and look how perfect it looks. You guys, this is amazing. Okay, it's nice, and you know what else I like about their bars? I like the thickness. I prefer my craft chocolate to be a little bit thinner than thick. Some people say that 4 millimeters is the magical thing for craft chocolate. So it's on the thinner side, and I like that about it. So let's see if we can hear a snap. Not bad, it's a bit soft, but that's okay. But it is a really good looking bar. I mean, it looks really nicely tempered. They've figured out the heat and exporting because it got to me perfectly. I'm gonna warm up the cocoa butter with my thumb and see what I can smell, and then we'll taste it. So when I taste this bar, it's nice. It's got, when I smell it first, when I warmed up the cocoa butter to release the volatiles, I could smell raisin, I could smell cocoa, I could smell a little bit of spicy pepperiness. And then when I taste it, you definitely get the raisin, and then I get a really kind of tart red fruit, like a tart raspberry or a cranberry, and that moves from the front of your mouth into the back of your throat, and also a little bit of a peppery finish in there, and a really nice aftertaste in my mouth, just a pleasant cocoa aftertaste in my mouth. No bitterness, very, very little astringency in there. So I'm interested. So that was nice. I like that bar. It's a good bar. So let's just tuck that one back away, and we'll open this one of their new bars here. This is the dark milk. So why I was interested in trying this one on video for you guys is that it's a 75% dark milk. That's really high for a dark milk bar. And it's got, so usually if you're doing a dark milk, the percentages are a little bit lower. So it's got cacao, sugar, milk powder, and cocoa butter. But 70% of it is cacao. So sometimes, yeah, let's just take a look at this one. I'm very curious to try it. Wondering, so like Zotter makes a 70% cacao and 30% milk with no sugar, but I'm interested to try this. Oh, another beautiful bar. They're doing great at molding these. I just want you to see the color difference here. So look at the color difference. This one's a little bit kind of a reddish brown color, where the 70% was much darker brown. So that's fun. All right, it's a really good looking bar. Can you believe these traveled all the way from Nicaragua? Look how nice that looks, you guys. Nice temper, holding its temper, no heat issue for my shipment. Let's see if we can hear a snap. Oh, that one actually has almost a better snap than the 70%. So strange, but it looks good, nicely tempered, nice thin bar. I like the thin because it melts really nice when you're slowly eating it. So I'm gonna warm this one up with my thumb and see what we can smell. So this one is interesting. I don't find it has a super strong aroma to it. This is their 75% dark milk. Cocoa, a little bit of earthy notes. When I first put it in my mouth, I get a little bit of astringency and then milkiness, and then I get into the tartness that I expect from the same Nicaraguan beans that they have in their other bars. And in the middle, it develops into an earthiness and then finishes raisin, and the aftertaste is slightly bitter to me. Not unpleasant, but just slightly bitter a little bit. It's unique, I would say. I don't think I've had a dark milk at that percentage before. I can't remember anyway. So not a bad bar. So yeah, those are the 2 bars that I opened from Argencove. Like I said, I've had some of their stuff before. I've had their passion fruit before, and the Apayo and the Messiah. So yeah, I'm impressed with this at origin. I'm especially impressed with how well this bar has traveled and done. I mean, wow. Okay, let's flip the camera around and finish up. So one of the things that Argencove is also very proud of that they're doing is they're building capacity and empowering the workforce in Nicaragua. So they are giving people jobs. They are teaching people how to drive cars, how to drive tractors, farming practices, fermentation practices, agroforestry practices. They said that when they first taught them, when they went through a first aid certification with them, the people clapped at the end, and they were super happy to be learning that and thanked them for organizing that training. They helped them get bank accounts and bank cards, which is really one of the important things when you're going to move up economically. Banks have been shown, the use of banks and the utilization of banks have been shown to be linked with economic improvements. So that is also important. She told me that they have stories where people start working for them, the farmers start working for them, and for the first couple of months they're walking to work, and then 3 months they're showing up on a bicycle. So they're hoping to improve their economic situation of the people in Nicaragua as they do this. Having a social impact is also important to them. In 2018, they started a school gardening program. They do have kids with them. Sally and Peter have kids, and they started a school gardening program at their school, donated supplies and instructions. So they're really, really wanting to be part of the community, to include the community, to bring value back to the community. And that's what these areas really need. They shouldn't be just shipping off commodity cacao. The value should be coming back to the community that's producing it, which is good. So that's Argencove Chocolate out of Nicaragua. And I hope you guys liked learning about them. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. If you like learning all the stories and the backstories and the origin stories of these superhero craft chocolate makers, make sure that you subscribe over here and you will get one every Thursday. And if you have any comments or questions or videos you want me to do or chocolate makers you think I should look at, be sure to leave a comment and let me know. I love getting comments from you guys. So I'll see you next week. Thanks.